Hello and welcome to Guild Wars Players News, the podcast where we take a look at Guild Wars game series news and talk about content on our site, Guild Wars Players. I'm Sithrith, and today we have Draculetta.
Hey everybody, and I apparently break things when I start them.
It would appear so. And unfortunately, we don't have Atharos again today, but to be fair, when we record, it is, we start recording at 1:30 a.m. his time, so I think, he's allowed to not show up sometimes because, that's pretty early in the morning. So it's reasonable.
Yeah, we'll allow it, I guess.
We'll allow it. But, not anymore after this. So, but this week we do have a lot to talk about because last weekend the Heart of Thorns expansion announcement happened and the hype train just went crazy. And so, yeah, hype train. I watched the stream. Did you watch the stream, Drac?
I did watch the stream.
Nice. And
until the very end when my internet decided to die, but I watched almost all of it.
Very nice. Yeah, it was quite long. A lot of pretty vague stuff, but I think it works out. Because they've trickled a little bit of extra information over the week as well.
They did a really good job, I think, of hyping it up and then not really saying anything, but saying something, if that makes sense.
Right. They said enough to get everybody really interested.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they said the stuff they did say was good. Like, sure, I wish they would have said some more stuff, but okay, so we can stop being vague and we can actually just get into this. So, Heart of Thorns, they announced all the features that they're going to have for this, expansion, and the first two things they announced, actually for features, was that there would be no new level cap, and there would be no new tier of gear to grind for. I'm not, that's not something that I'm, super excited about, but, yeah, I'm happy with that. That's okay. I'm good with that. I don't know, I know for other games, personally, I really enjoy leveling in games generally, but for some reason, I don't know, I feel like there's enough horizontal progression in this game that not having more levels at cap, it doesn't bother me, maybe? I'm not sure why.
Yeah, well, I mean, because it's what else are you going to do?
Right. We have traits, we have skill points, we have other features that we'll talk about that they announced for this.
Yeah, there's enough other stuff where I don't think just being stuck at 80 is going to be that major of an issue. I don't think either. I know some people were really kind of upset. Well, not really upset, I guess. They were kind of bummed out at the fact that we're going to be stuck at 80. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, yeah, it's all good. Yeah,
I'm totally fine with it. Which, like I said, is kind of weird because I do generally enjoy leveling, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a super altaholic in this game. And I've just been leveling characters like crazy, so I can just keep making more characters. Anyways, the next feature that they announced was something called Masteries, and basically it kind of sounds like skill points plus, because it's the way they talked about how you earn these mastery points sounds like skill points. Like you do different types of challenges in the new region that we're gonna have to quest in, and these points actually, rather than skill points where it's just per character, these mastery points will be across all of your account. So it unlocks things for your entire account. So that's really nice. It's pretty good. And also, some of the stuff that you can unlock with masteries is really cool, like hang gliding. Although they've kind of qualified this and said that you'll only be able to hang glide in the new region. Which makes sense, because, adding basically flying mounts into older regions of the game that weren't designed for it can lead to a lot of breaking. So, that makes sense. But still, hang gliding, that sounds pretty exciting. Yes, what else? Next, they announced the profession specializations, which is actually the thing I'm most excited about. Basically, they said it acts like a second profession, so the main one that they talked about was Rangers. They will be able to specialize as a druid, which will allow them to wield a staff, which Rangers currently cannot do, and basically these specializations will give every class new healing skills, new elite skills, new utility skills, and of course, obviously new weapon specialization, weapon use, which obviously means new skills for those weapons for that class. But I'm super excited about that. Unfortunately, again, another thing that they've come out with this week, after the announcement, they didn't say this during the actual PAX thing, was that at Heart of Thrones launch, there is only going to be one specialization per class. So basically, the decision you get at Heart of Thorns is, do I specialize, or do I just stay the same? And they have said that they're going to, they're going to be looking to add more specializations later on, but I was a little bit disappointed that they're only going to do one. What do you think about these specializations, Drake?
I wonder if this is their way of pleasing the people that wanted to be able to do multi-profession like you can do in the original Guild Wars.
That's what it sounds like.
Because I'm sure this is a heck of a lot easier for them to do it this way than... See, because in the first Guild Wars, you actually get skills from both of your professions that you choose. Mm-hmm. And you can mix and mingle the two skills, so I'm sure that would be a nightmare to add that in after the fact. I mean, Guild Wars was, built around that, so I'm kind of excited about it. I'm excited to see, especially on my Ranger.
Right,
I think. That's pretty exciting. Have to see what some of the others. Not sure about my Necro. I don't know.
Yeah, they didn't talk about what every class is going to get for specialization.
Right.
But
yeah,
if you watch the tutorial, if you watch the trailer, you will see, if you watch closely, you'll see some classes wielding weapons that they wouldn't normally be able to. So we're assuming those are the specializations. So for example, if you watch, there is a Mesmer. You can tell because there's lots of pink and purple glowy butterfly stuff going on. And the Mesmer is wielding a sword and a shield, which Mesmers cannot currently use. There's also an engineer wielding a big warhammer that's shaped like a wrench, so it looks really cool, and I really want to do that. Awesome. That looks really cool. And I can be all Torchlight 2 up in this Guild Wars 2. And so that'll be really cool. I think that's it. Oh, yeah, they did confirm that necromancers will be getting greatswords, which we kind of figured based on stuff that's been happening in the living story and personal story stuff. So that's cool.
Yeah, and I'm pretty psyched about that, actually.
I
really looking forward to my necro.
Yeah, I'd like to live in a Guild Wars 2 where every class can use greatswords because I love greatswords. And I mean, if Mesmers can use greatswords and do the weird little levitating greatsword laser light show, I think any class can get away with using a greatsword, honestly. So yeah, I'm really excited about professions, and like I said, they are planning to put out more specializations later on, so that could potentially open up a lot of really cool opportunities for classes. So yeah, that's really exciting. And the next feature they announced is the new profession. Everybody's really excited about it, for a lot of reasons. Basically, this profession is called the Revenant, and basically the idea behind this class is that Rytlock Brimstone has come back from the mists, and he's going to teach all of us how to be Revenants. And Drac, do you want to talk about what Revenants are doing? Because I know you were like, oh, here's some trivia earlier today.
No, I'm kind of excited about this for an obvious reason. Yeah, the Revenant, actually, for those of you who don't know what that word means, it describes a person that returns after death. So therefore, Rytlock is coming back from the mist, so technically, maybe, I guess he died?
Okay, yeah, so in chat people are asking, what does imbue with the power of the mist means? What is the mist in Guild Wars 2? Maybe, Drac, you want to cover what the mists are, since that gets covered a lot in Guild Wars 1, I think, so maybe you can tackle that?
Yep, hold on 1 second. For some reason, my computer is messing up.
Yay! Okay, so the mists are basically, it's the underworld, but it's also kind of like space. Like, basically, it's kind of the stuff in between all of the other, like, other worlds. Like, there's different dimensions, and the mist kind of holds everything and is in between all of the different dimensions and stuff. It's kind of a weird, abstract kind of concept. But it's also, yes, it is also basically the afterlife, the underworld, and...
Yeah, and now I actually got everything straightened out here. And inside the center of the mist lies the rift, and within the rift is where the Hall of Heroes is located. And the Hall of Heroes was very important in Guild Wars because that's where a lot of the PvP was done. Mm-hmm. And that's where basically the Realm of the Gods are as well. And any demons are created actually in the mist, and that's where they come from.
Right. And when people die, their spirits go to the mists.
Correct. Yeah, it's like the realm of the afterlife. And the mist have always been there even before humans and the dwarves. The mist have always been.
Right.
So they are the oldest thing in the Guild Wars universe. Mm. And the mist actually touch all things.
Yes.
So everybody is a part of the mist.
Yes. So basically when it says that the Revenant will harness the power of the mists and will use stuff that's imbued with the power of the mists, basically the way they explained it in the announcement is that they will be drawing on specific spirits or legends that are now in the mists because they're dead, presumably. Like the one specific example they gave was that Revenants can draw on the power of the legend of King Jalus the Dwarf. So maybe some kind of tanky stuff or whatever. If you watch the trailer, you'll see that Rytlock does some skills, and there's a big bluish-looking crystal dragon that appears over his head. So that kind of looks like maybe he's he's harnessing the legend and, like, the spirit of Glint, maybe, or something.
What excited me, too, though, is also they said you can call upon the power of Malix, the Unyielding. And for those of you not familiar with your Guild Wars lore, Malix is a Marganite.
I don't know what that means.
He rules over the Domain of Anguish. The Domain of Anguish was a horrible, horrible place, but it was so fun to play in because it was just nasty. Okay. He basically was a servant of Abaddon.
Okay.
So you can actually call upon his power too, and Marganites have some pretty amazing skills. So if you can harness, if I could talk, power like that, yeah, it's going to be pretty amazing to play.
Yeah, this is definitely a very lore-focused, kind of abstract class.
And it's kind of sounds like they're drawing on a little bit of what the Ritualist profession did.
That's what I've heard.
In Guild Wars, so it's kind of like a little nod to the Ritualist, which I loved playing my Ritualist, so I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah, so this is going to be a very interesting class because it's got all these, like, very mystical elements. It sounds very magic-y, but it is a heavy armor class. And originally looking at the trailer, everybody thought that Rytlock in the trailer is wielding a spear, but actually Rytlock, well, I mean, besides Sahothin, but we're going to talk about Sahothin later, he's wielding a staff, apparently, not a spear. So these are going to be heavy armor, staff-wielding, lore-focused people. So it's very different. It's a very unusual class. I'm really excited about it. So
yeah, and what really surprised me too is it's going to be a heavy armor class.
Yeah, like when Colin Johansson started announcing it, he was like, "Oh, we were looking at all of our professions, and we have 3 light armor professions, we have 3 medium armor professions, we only have 2 heavy armor professions." I was like, yeah, this makes sense, heavy armor class. But then when they started talking about it, I was like, whoa, this is crazy for a heavy armor class. But I guess when you think about it, technically Guardians have some similarities. You can use a staff or a scepter as a Guardian, and they have some very, like, magic-y skills also. But I think this is like... The Revenant sounds like a mix between a Guardian, a Necromancer, and an elementalist, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. It's definitely, yeah, and I know people in the chat room are talking about, so what's the difference between this and a necro?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're not calling on undead, you're just
right.
channeling...
It's not a physical thing.
The spirits, right. You're channeling the spirits of those who passed on into the mist, and you're kind of borrowing their skills to help you.
Yeah, whereas like a necromancer, you are bringing forth like bones and flesh, and like you are creating things out of like actual physical corpses and death and terribleness. And I don't like necromancers, but revenants, you're calling upon their legend, like their legacy.
In the trailer, if you watch the trailer, when Ritlock. He kind of does something, and then he goes all misty, and then he like takes on like 3 or 4 people, and he like kills them.
Mm-hmm.
That is him doing his little revenant channeling, and he's calling on the spirit of. I'm guessing that's probably Malax the Undying, because that looks like a Marganite type skill he was using. I mean, don't quote me on that. I'm not for sure, but I would guess that's what was happening there. So yeah. So you're basically going to channel spirits, and you're going to be able to do some pretty uber skills, it looks like.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to more information coming out about this class. Or profession. I keep saying class. I'm sorry. It's profession in this game.
Brax Wolf in the chat says, so why do you need heavy armor to channel spirits? And then Tapco said, you don't really. Ritlock is just trolling us.
I wouldn't be surprised. Ritlock's a pretty big troll.
That's our Ritlock.
So besides those are like the really big ticket kind of features that they've announced. But they also announced a new World v. World Borderlands map. Neither of us really do World v. World stuff, so I don't think we have opinions on it.
People are excited about it.
Yeah, so people are excited about it, so cool. Good job. I'm glad you're excited. In the show notes, of course, will be links to more information about the announcement and the actual trailer itself, so if you are interested in PvP and World v. World, you can watch it and draw your own conclusions. We have none. There's also a new PvP mode called Stronghold, which actually is kind of interesting. A lot of people kind of freaked out when they said it, and it was like, oh my gosh, this sounds like a MOBA. But I mean, it doesn't sound any different from, say, like Team Fortress 2 or any other multiplayer mode in any other game that's existed for ages. Basically, it's kind of not, I don't want to say like capture the flag, but, you know, similar-ish. It sounds interesting. And the final feature they announced is guild halls, which is kind of what it sounds like, a hall for your guild. And basically, there's NPCs in there. You can progress the hall through, like, you know, you can build up your guild hall. You can use the guild hall to progress your guild further and new missions and really cool sounding stuff. And it acts as like basically like a physical place for your guild to get together, you know, for funsies and whatever.
Which I am all for this. They needed this at launch, I think. This should have been included, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So this is pretty darn exciting.
Yep, Brax says in the chat, get to work on building our guild hall, Drac. It needs to look misty.
I'll see what I can do about that.
Alright. So yeah, so that's the announcement. That's the base information that we got. There was also, they posted up an FAQ afterwards, frequently asked questions afterwards. Drac, you want to talk about some of the questions that they answered?
Sure. Basically what they did this is they were getting tons of questions after this, and so they kind of picked the top questions that they were getting over and over, and they kind of put the answers out there. The main question everybody was asking is, when will Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns launch?
Because that's what we really all want to know.
And their answer was, we'll announce the official launch date when we can.
They have actually also come out now and said that the first, like, playable version people actually get their hands on will be at the next PAX, so that's in about 6 weeks. So some people are speculating that means, oh, we're going to get the expansion in 6 weeks. I highly doubt that, but I'm thinking this means we're going to get the expansion in maybe 6 months, maybe. We'll see.
Probably, I would say that's pretty close. And then, of course, the follow-up question to that is, how much will this expansion cost? And their answer was, they have not announced pricing yet. So I think they're kind of weighing their options on that, and
yeah.
My guess is they're kind of trying to figure out, what's a good medium price to price it at to where it's not too expensive. But so we'll see. And also, of course, that brings up the question: is this expansion going to be buy to play? And they said Guild Wars 2: Heart of Thorns is a paid expansion to Guild Wars 2, but once you buy it, there are no subscription fees, just like the game.
Makes sense.
This means, that you will continue playing and access future updates to Guild Wars 2: Heart of Thorns with no subscription fee as well.
Cool.
So everybody has to buy it. This is not like an update. A lot of people were thinking this was going to be like a free update, and it is not. It is a paid expansion, if you were confused. They also answered the question, will you be offering an early access beta? And they says yes, although we do not have details to release at the present time, but keep checking the main Guild Wars 2 website for more information on that. And then the one that kind of surprised me is, will this expansion only be available digitally, or will there be boxed editions as well? And they said there will be both.
I was definitely also surprised by that, because I kind of assumed that at this day and age it would just be digital. But honestly, if they're going to have like really cool stuff with these box editions, I might buy one, because if it's really cool, I might.
Yeah, and then that brings up the follow-up question of that, too, is will there be a collector's edition? And they said at this time they do not have any information available about any specific versions. But before launch, of course, they'll tell you what you can get digitally and physically. So, but it's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we won't have to wait too long, but we'll see.
Yep, that'll be interesting. And hopefully more information soon. Then this week they've done a couple of interviews across a couple different sites and given out a little bit more information. I've covered some of it when we talked about the actual announcement itself. One thing I did think was interesting was they were giving an interview and they got asked why they didn't add a new race. Because I know last episode you and I were like, oh yeah, they're totally going to add a new race. It's going to be the Tengu. And then, nope, that didn't happen.
Yeah, sorry about
that. We were wrong. So we are not on a winning streak with our predictions so far. But they did go into why they didn't add a new race. They said, right now we didn't feel that a new race was a key need for the game, whereas the other things that we're adding really provide fundamental building blocks for the future. So they were looking at it like, the features that we're adding are going to immediately add a whole lot of new gameplay options for people, and they are going to build, start the foundations for building more gameplay options for people, whereas a new race is mostly just a cosmetic thing. I mean, I feel like Guild Wars 2 is very fueled by cosmetics, since a lot of the endgame stuff is about getting cool-looking armor sets, rather than necessarily the stats that are associated with those armor sets. So it's kind of... I think a lot of people would have been into it, but I can also see why they wouldn't. Like, I understand the reasoning. But disappointing that our little Tengu prediction failed.
Oh, I know. I so wanted Tengu. I'm going to be a bird. Come on, Arena.
I know. And I can just think of so many different color options and color schemes for having a bird, and, they're kind of, I can see it would be so, their posture is very similar to Char, so it wouldn't be too hard to get the mapping, and I'll just have to stick with my salads, I guess. Anyway, so mostly this week has just been all about that. We did get an update on the 27th this week. It was mostly all those balance updates that we talked about earlier. It's a lot of balance and bug fixing. You can see the full patch notes on our site. It's mostly just stuff like tweaking different casting times by 1 or 2 seconds. That's a lot of what it is. Downplaying the importance of might, stuff like that. that's the majority of this update. Again, if you want to see more specifics of what's up, it's all in the patch notes on the site. This week also, last weekend, remember, there's that big sale. We talked about it beforehand, and lots of people were having problems, apparently, buying Guild Wars 2 on sale. What's supposed to happen when you buy Guild Wars 2 from the site, you purchase it, and then you're supposed to get an email with the code for the game. Some people were not getting them, so there's a whole hullabaloo about not getting these codes, but then within, I think, less than a day or so, they figured out the problem, and everybody should have their codes by now. So, not really an issue now, but if you were one of those people, just keep checking your mail. It should show up. Speaking of sales, what is on sale in the Gem Store this week, Drek?
There is quite a bit of new stuff. There's something called the Pack Fleet Survival Pack, which contains 5 Black Lion claim ticket scraps, 5 Black Lion chess keys, 5 enchanted combat boost, 1 home portal stone, 1 captain's airship pass, which lasts 2 weeks, 2 revive orbs, and 10 silver waste shovels. It's 1,600 gems, and I know on Reddit there's a pretty huge thread about this.
Yeah.
That people are really kind of complaining about this. They're saying it's not worth it.
I don't think it's worth it, but I'm not going to make a fuss about it. Like, if somebody really wants all that stuff, whatever, but...
Exactly. It is what it is.
Some people really want that stuff. Some people don't. I'm not going to buy it. If I'm going to spend 1,600 gems on something, it's probably going to be more like 2 character slots or something. Or, like however many total makeover kits that 1,600 gems can buy. Quite a lot. But, yeah. That's just me.
Also in the store, we have the Mini Casimir and new rare home instance gathering nodes. And each of those nodes will have a chance to drop Mithril Ore, Platinum Ore, and Ancient Wood Logs, or Orion Truffles.
Yeah.
You can permanently unlock those resource nodes in your home instance. So, and the little Mini Casimir looks pretty sweet, actually. I mean, it's no mini... So, it's no mini Jorah, but, she'll do.
And I assume it's no mini Zoja?
Yeah, Zoja, I'm sorry. I was looking at my poster on the wall and I saw Jorah, so there you go. Also, in the store, you can get some new weapons as well.
Oh, yes, these are the Valentine's-themed weapons.
Yeah, they look okay. The swords... okay, the axes, I don't know. Depending if I buy them. But also, they're having an end-of-season sale.
Mm-hmm.
So through the end of the month, they're adding... through February 2nd, I should say. They're adding new items in the store on sale up to 25% to 30% off. And it looks like they change every day, but if you miss a day... they're staying on sale for like the day after.
Interesting.
So I listed, if you go on guildwarsplayers.com, in my store post, I listed what was on sale for the 27th, 28th, and today.
Mm-hmm.
And I checked before the show, and the 27th and 28th stuff were still showing up on sale. So if you would want any of the stuff that's on sale, I wouldn't wait too long for it, because they don't tell you how long it's going to stay on sale, but it seems like it's lasting about a day.
Good to know.
So just make sure you log in and check every day to see what else they add, because they're not announcing what they're adding. You just kind of have to look and find it.
So if you want that mini Chickenado at 30% off, now's your chance.
Now is your chance, exactly.
Cool beans. So this week, since we had this whole hype train of hypitude and Heart of Thorns stuff, we put up a poll on the site. What feature that has been announced for Heart of Thorns are you most excited about? So, I'm refreshing the page right now, so it is super accurate, just to be sure. Nope, didn't get any votes. Okay, so we got a total of 39 votes. Not that great, but whatever. Maybe next time we have a poll, you guys will vote. But the number one thing people are excited for is the profession specializations that garnered 11 votes and 20%, or 28%, of all of the total votes. Next up was masteries at 26%. The new profession, the Revenant, came in at 18%. The new Heart of Maguma region, which, is actually going to have a couple zones within it, came in at 10%. Guild Halls is another 10%. And the new PvP mode, Strongholds, only got 2 votes. And the World v. World Borderlands, the new map, only got 1 vote. So, like us, I don't think our readers and listeners are super duper into PvP and World v. World. Such is life. But yeah, so everybody's really excited about those profession specializations. And like I said, it's definitely what I'm the most excited about. What did you vote, Direk? Or if you were to vote, how would you vote?
I would say the professions.
Yeah.
Changes.
Yep.
I would agree with what everybody else said, I think. To me, that's the most exciting part, I think.
Yeah, I think people it's really interesting. Like I was saying, it's good horizontal progression. It's a different way to make your character more unique, earn some new stuff. Yeah, it's good. So, on top of all that, Tapco wrote some more great Guild Wars guides for us. He wrote Get Started in Guild Wars Part 1 and Part 2, and I know Drac has some opinions about this.
I do. This is another great article from Tapco, so right off I'm going to say good on you for this article again. But I'm going to disagree with Tapco for the first time, I think. He basically lays out, and he's telling you how to start, what to do, how to do stuff. So in Part 1, he suggests that you start with factions. He says, in his opinion, that is the best campaign to start with. I don't know if I would agree with that. This is maybe a biased opinion of mine. I didn't like factions all that well. I thought Nightfall was much better, but he does bring up the point that in Nightfall it does assume that you kind of know what you're doing already, and they kind of just throw you into a mission right after your little tutorial that you run through on Nightfall. So I will agree with him on that. I don't know if I'd start with factions. Factions. I would probably start with prophecies, but then he brings up that point too. So I don't know. I'm torn. I just don't like factions personally, but the way he lays it out in this article, it's good. So I'll just, I guess, keep my opinion out of it and say read the article, and because he tells you everything and he kind of gives you some little hints on the UI. And because there is some like weird things about the UI, because if you go back and play Guild Wars now, you can see that it's dated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still a fun, awesome game to play. Don't get me wrong with that, but it's especially in the UI and the chat. It's really
definitely
dated.
an older game. It makes sense.
And then of course he followed this up with Part 2. And he's telling you, he tells you how to get your first mission afterwards, how to do the mission, how to get your guild chest, not your guild chest, your storage chest, and your crafting chest. So it's another great step-by-step article, and he's got some great pictures on it. But enjoy factions, I guess. That's all I'll say.
Tapco also has a clarification in the chat. This is actually the second time you disagreed with him because you hate dwarves.
Oh, it is true. You are correct, Tapco. I'm sorry. I'm disagreeing with you so much.
All right. So this week's video spotlight from the community is a little video about the Quaggan song. Now, if Thalros were here, I'm sure he'd love to tell you all about this Quaggan song. Basically, Thalros and I do jumping puzzles together a lot, and there's this one jumping puzzle we came across recently in Timberline Falls. There's a section called Meligan's Grotto, and there is a Quaggan standing in the middle of this grotto called the Coddler, like the Quaggan Coddler, and it stands there, and it sings this little song to all these baby Quaggan that are all around. Which, by the way, a lot of people think baby Quaggan are really cute. I think baby Quaggan look really weird. That's just me. Maybe that's a really unpopular opinion, but I'm just gonna get it out there.
Quaggans are just creepy in general.
Hey! I love Quaggans.
Ever since I found the one that wanted to lick me, they're creepy, okay? I'm sorry.
Whatever, Drac. Whatever.
But continue, please.
Anyway, I love Quaggans. and there's this Quaggan that's singing to these little baby Quaggan, and this person did a cover of this Quaggan song, and it's really good, so you should go listen to it, and then also go to Meligan's Grotto in the southern part of Timberline Falls, and do the little jumping puzzle there, and listen to the Quaggan sing the little Quaggan song. It's adorable. Yeah. So this week's community outfit is from Jack59, and he sent us in a picture of his human elementalist. I think they did a good job. A lot of people have been using Carapace armor lately because, with Point of No Return coming out, finally you get the Carapace chest piece. And I think this does a really good job of pairing the Carapace chest piece actually with the starter intro leggings, and I say leggings, but it's a skirt, and the boots. And so this is a really nice like gold and royal blue and kind of pinky purple outfit, and looks really good. And it's a human elementalist, so go check that out. And if you want to send us pictures of your character, because I like looking at pictures of characters, send it to us at contact@guildwarsplayers.com with the subject line weekly outfit. And yes, just as Greg can tell you, I spent a lot of time just standing in the Grove talking about how pretty all the other player characters are. So send me your pictures of your characters. So for this week's lore book, where we take a look at a place, character, race, or artifact and examine the lore surrounding it and why it's important to our gameplay, this week I'm going to talk about Sahothin, which is the sword currently wielded by Rytlock Brimstone, who's going to be our Revenant poster child. Basically, Sahothin is one of a twin set of flaming blades, the other sword being Magdare. Sahothin was originally wielded by Prince Rurik, who was the son of King Adalbern, who was the king of Ascalon, in Guild Wars 1. These two swords were created in ore. They're kind of magical, I'd say. Yeah, they're magical weapons. So Sahothin was actually lost when Prince Rurik, died crossing the Shiverpeak Mountains from Ascalon to Kryta. He was killed. There's this whole thing with dwarves. I'm not going to get into it. But it was lost with his body in the Shiverpeaks.
Side note, I cheered when it happened in Guild Wars.
Drac does not like
literally
Prince Rurik.
Out loud. I cheered. Anyway, play Guild Wars and you'll understand why I cheered.
Okay. So Sahothin briefly reappeared in the Ring of Fire, which is, if you look on your map in Guild Wars 1, it's in the southwestern corner. We can't actually go there. But a reanimated Rurik was forced to fight for a certain necromancer. Again, I don't want to get into too many details here, but Sahothin came with Rurik's dead body. But then the volcano erupted, and so theoretically Sahothin was lost in this volcano. But then Guild Wars 2 comes along, 250-some years later, and Rytlock Brimstone the Char has it, and no one really knows how he got it. When people ask him, you have some opportunities in game to talk to him, especially in the Ascalon Catacombs dungeon, and you can ask him, hey, where did you get your sword? And he's like, none of your business, because I'm Rytlock Brimstone. And so it seemed it might be a touchy subject with him. It's not entirely sure, but some believe that Sahothin can be used to reverse the Foe Fire, which is the spell that King Adalbern placed on Ascalon using Sahothin's twin Magdare to kill all the Char and turn all the humans into ghosts, which I talked about in an earlier lore book segment. So there's some weird stuff going on. So Sahothin is definitely a important sword, and you see it a lot in the intro, or the trailer intro thingy for Heart of Thorns. It's interesting. Sahothin is definitely an important little piece of lore that you should keep in mind as you play and encounter Rytlock and all that stuff. So Drek, what did you do this weekend game?
I did so many dungeons. So many dungeons.
Did you really?
You and Etheros, as a matter of fact, we ran Twilight Arbor and Sorrow's Embrace. And I was so happy in Sorrow's Embrace. I was actually giddy. You can say I was giddy, correct?
Yes, I suppose.
I spent the whole entire time in Sorrow's Embrace standing next to Zojja with my mini Zojja.
He was
And every
euphoric.
time the cutscenes would come on, I would have to comment, and you guys were saying something mean about Zojja, and I was saying,
She
but
was
it's so
being
cute.
very rude.
It was so cute when she got all mad because
Oh my
she
God.
just made the little mad face, and yeah, and you guys were making fun of me, but I had a lot of Felicia Day time in game this week, so I'm good.
I'm shaking my head.
I'm
shaking my head at you,
I'm,
Jack.
I'm sure you are. I also got my Elementalist to level 39, so I'm probably, I think I need like 500 more experience points or something to get to 40.
Nice.
So I'll be ready to start on my second part of my personal story. So it's good.
Yeah. So yeah, we did do Twilight Arbor and Sorrow's Embrace. Twilight Arbor was pretty good. Sorrow's Embrace took ages though, and I'm not entirely sure why. It took us like an hour and a half. And we were doing story mode. I want to say we just didn't have a whole lot of DPS. Might be
I
part
think
of the
that
problem.
was part of the problem, because I was doing as much as I could do, but some of those things in there just took forever for us to burn
like
down.
Twilight
And
Arbor
then-
wasn't a
then that-
problem, but then
No,
some
yeah,
of those
we didn't have
elites
any,
in Sorrow's Embrace, like the Dredge, it just took ages to take them down.
yeah.
And then those
Yeah.
things that come down and squish you, that probably didn't help either. There's like pistons that come down and squish you, and that happened a lot to us. Didn't help.
Well, once we figured out that the area of effect for that actually expands out between the red outline of it,
Mm-hmm.
it was better, because we thought we were out of it, because we were kind of out of the red, but yet we still died. So
Yeah, it goes just a little bit
I don't
past
know if
that.
I don't know if that's a bug or that's working as intended, but yeah, just so a tip for you: if you ever go in Sorrow's Embrace and you get to that part,
Watch out
make
for the
sure
pistons.
you're way out of the red range of those, or you will get smushed.
Definitely. But we did eventually beat it, so that was good.
I enjoyed Twilight Arbor better, I think.
I liked Twilight Arbor. That was really interesting. It had some interesting stuff where you had to go and get some ingredients and stuff.
Of course, I'm kind of biased, though, because I was never a big fan of Sorrow's Embrace in the original Guild Wars.
Oh, yeah.
That was never one of my most fun things to do with Guild Wars, having to run Sorrow's Embrace for stuff. So that might be why, but it just seemed like Twilight Arbor was better laid out, and it kind of flowed better, I think.
Yeah, I liked
But they were both pretty interesting dungeons, so I liked them both.
Yep, and we still have, I think, four more dungeons before we finish all of them,
Yep.
and then fractals eventually. So we're working our way through them. So yeah, so earlier today I was doing jumping puzzles with Athelros. We did some jumping puzzles in ore that were quite obnoxious. There's one, what is it called? Scavenger's Chasm. And it's really obnoxious because it's obviously like a jumping puzzle. There's all sorts of ledges you have to jump up and climb over and all that. But on top of that, you have to go around and you have to find 12 different orbs. And you use these orbs to unlock these chests. So you have to unlock 3 chests. And it took forever running around trying to find all these stupid little orbs. But we did eventually beat it, so that was good. But gosh, jumping puzzles in ore are just they are a different kind of beast. Besides that, I didn't actually play as much as I usually play, but I did get my Sylvari Warrior from level 27 to level 38. So yeah, he's kind of in the same boat as your Elementalist, about ready to start second part of the personal story. He joined the Vigil, he did. He joined the Vigil, so that'll be interesting. I haven't actually played through the Vigil personal story yet, so that'll be my first time for that. So I think that's about it for everything I did in game. Anything else, Drac?
Nope, I think that was all I did. I did start reading the books again, though, just because I
okay.
haven't read them for a while.
Cool.
So I guess that's kind of game related, I
Yeah.
suppose. I forgot to mention that.
Definitely game related. Yeah, I definitely recommend the books. I know we've talked about them before, but if you haven't, check out the Guild Wars 2 books, Ghosts of Ascalon, Edge of Destiny, and I guess you should read Sea of Sorrows. I haven't been able to finish Sea of Sorrows because I'm just so bored of it. It's so boring.
And I would like to point out that Tapco in the chat says that the Ashuras are not rude, they're just better than you, and they will let you know that.
Harumph.
So there. So leave Zoja alone.
She's rude. Anyway. So, next we have the Guild Wars 2 Academy, which is our new segment, and it's where we answer questions sent in by new players looking to learn more about the game. So, this week's question is actually direct. Do you want to read it? Because I talk a lot.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. I know that at one point in the personal story, you must join one of the 3 factions to continue. No doubt everyone has their favorite, and I'd like to know which ones those are. But are they all worth playing through? Should I just YouTube certain ones for background info instead because they're not worth the actual effort?
I think this is definitely a very subjective kind of thing. Like you said, everybody has their favorites, but I mean, I think it's really dependent on how you perceive your character, because each of these factions has a different way of going about things. So there's the Order of Whispers, which is kind of the sneaky, we're gonna sneak around to, like, get intelligence, the sneaky way. And, yeah, there's that. There's the Dermond Priory, which gets their information through scholarly research, examining artifacts, stuff like that. And then there is the Vigil, which kind of, their whole thing is protecting the defenseless and bringing about justice and all of that stuff. It's pretty good. But basically the goal of each of them is to fight the Elder Dragon. So that is the one way that they are all united. And eventually at one point in your personal story, it won't matter which faction you choose because you will be working with them all together equally. So, it's totally subjective. If you're playing a character and you think that they should join the Dermond Priory because you think your character's really scholarly and all that and doesn't want to fight as much, then yeah, join the Dermond Priory. And if you really want to, YouTube the little intro bits for the other ones. Because really, the main difference is the NPCs that you interact with. Right, Drac? Because I know you've done the Order and Dermond Priory now. Or at least part of it. Maybe?
Let me take myself off mute and then answer your question.
That's probably a good idea.
Yes.
I was wondering if I was muted.
That is a good idea. Usually on podcasts, it's good to not be muted so you can talk.
Probably.
Yeah, the only one that I have not done is the Vigil, just because, I don't know, they just kind of annoy me. Mm-hmm. All the NPCs that you run in so far have just annoyed me in the stories that I've ran through. Mm-hmm. I think the one that I like the most, though, personally, is the Order of Whispers.
Okay.
And that kind of goes back to Guild Wars as well, because really? I always liked the interactions that you had with the Orders of Whispers and stuff in the original Guild Wars.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of just carried over, and I like the NPCs, the Orders of Whispers that you run into and encounter, and I like the story better, I think.
Okay.
I would say, so that would be if you want my opinion, I would do the Order of Whispers.
That's am going to agree. Because, the NPC that you deal with the most for Order of Whispers is the best. Like, I love him. I know we've talked about it before, but yeah. The NPC you deal with for, like, every faction, like, you have a mentor. And for the Vigil, you have a Norn for a mentor. For the Priory, you get a Sylvari, and for the Order of Whispers, you get this Char, and I just love him. He's amazing. So, between us, we say Order of Whispers. And I know Athalros has only done Dermond Priory, so he would probably say Dermond Priory, I bet. But yeah, anything to add to that? Or did we
on my Elementalist, which is my Ashura, I am doing the Dermond Priory just because I thought that kind of fit better with the, race. So that's why I chose that on there. So, you might want to do that if you have like 3 alts. Just do each one
Right.
of them if you want to experience them actually in game.
Mm-hmm.
But I still would say the Order of Whispers is the way to go because I think it's the better of the 3.
Yep, agreed. So this week we did not get any new Patreon mentions, but we sure would love your support to help us at Guild Wars Players and the Players Alliance. Simply go to our donation page at guildwarsplayers.com/donations, and you will find the Players Alliance Network Patreon. And you can get rewards like getting a mention on the show, or you can even be a guest on this podcast. So we're cool. We don't bite, so that's cool. For feedback this week, we did get a new iTunes review. 5 stars from someone named BraxFan303, who is totally not Braxwolf, you guys. We promise. It sounds so suspicious when you look at our iTunes reviews.
It looks a little shady.
When you look at our iTunes
okay.
reviews, and one is from Braxwolf and one is from BraxFan303, but we promise they're not the same person. BraxFan303 writes, with a polished group used to covering gaming news with each other on previous shows, this team translates seamlessly to cover Guild Wars 2 news. After listening to each episode, I can't wait for the next one, which is a great sign for a new podcast. Keep up the great works. So, thanks, BraxFan303, who is definitely not Braxwolf. We really appreciate it. I've also got a couple in-game messages this week from people saying that they really like the show. Again, thank you so much to everyone who has been letting us know how much they enjoy us. We're glad that we are entertaining and that you like listening to us. Yeah, so thanks for that. This week we also have a featured comment from Tapco, who I think always pretty much ends up being the featured comment somehow. And Tapco writes, I would welcome someone else also writing about the superior asterisk game in the series, and the asterisk says, based on number of dwarves. I'm still bitter about running the Shadow Nexus several times just to get my very last hero armor piece, so Hall of Monuments is all yours, or someone else's. I assume that's what HOM stands for.
Yeah.
As a follow-up to the email question last week, that is, I recently discovered why you just have to junk so much gear in Guild Wars 2. Within the first week of Guild Wars 2 being out, people were using karma to buy stuff, salvaging it, and using those mats to make stuff to vendor. Essentially, it was a means of converting karma to gold with good turnover, no less, which ArenaNet didn't really like. They even called it an exploit and banned people for it. So karma gear and such has been bound, unsellable, and unsalvageable ever since. Unless you're buying or crafting gear, karma is where you'll get a lot of upgrades, and it makes it seem like you can't salvage much of anything. So that's good information. I definitely did not know that background bit of knowledge about why you can't salvage that stuff. But good to know. So yeah, if you want to contact us, you can email us at podcast@guildwarsplayers.com. And you can follow all of us on Twitter. The Players Alliance Network is at Players Ally. Guild Wars Players, our site is at GW Players. On Twitter, I am at Sithryth, and in-game, I am at Sithryth.6741. Draculetta on Twitter is at Draculetta_72, and in-game, he's at Draculetta.7401. Ethelros, when he ever gets back to the show, is at Ethelros, and in-game at Ethelros.3164. The Players Alliance Network has a whole bunch of live shows, of which this is just one. Mondays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is the DDO Players News. Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is this show, Guild Wars Players News. And Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is Lotro Players News. You can find all the live shows at guildwarsplayers.com/live. There's a link to this chat, so you can see all the live shows. Thank you all so much for listening, and this is Sithryth reminding you to look before you leap.